I'll make an announcement.
Speaker sign in? You're fine.
Yeah, I'll make an announcement.
Everyone who is online is a senator. We have one.
Okay. Let's go with that.
Yeah, they said they can't determine it.
Yeah. Let's assume that for now. And we do still have people. Okay, if I could have your attention, it's just a few minutes after 3. So I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Faculty Senate of USC Columbia. Are there any corrections and/or approval, or sorry, are there any corrections to the minutes from the September 13th meeting, which are posted on the Senate website? Okay.
I love hearing that silence.
Yes, that's right. Good job, Secretary. All right. Not seeing any, I will if I have to move to approve. I guess if there's no corrections, we can just, they're approved. The minutes are approved as they stand. Next on the agenda is a report from President Emeritus, who unfortunately cannot be here today, but I think Provost Arnett will speak to that during her presentation, her report, which is now.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. The president sends his regrets. We have a lot of events happening this week on campus, and he's engaged with multiple donors who are potential donors who are visiting. So tomorrow we have the opening of the South Carolinian Library. So that's a very exciting moment for our institution. For those of you who don't know, who may be new to campus, that library was the first freestanding library on a university campus ever created in the United States. So it's really a historic building and a thing that put South Carolina first, amongst other things. We also have Marla Smalls here for the College of Arts and Sciences tonight, so I'll be there at the end of the day. And Sheila Johnson was here this morning with the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management with a big event, standing room only, and they had to turn people away at the Russell House. So those are great events, big luncheon at the president's house today for all of these guests of honor. So it's a big day for the president. So he wanted to know that he sends his regrets that he couldn't be here. I will keep my report short because I took so much time at the last meeting. I did want to report on our Bridge to Faculty program. This was a program that President Emeritus initiated last year. It was run in collaboration between our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and the Provost Office. We had competition for departments to submit applications for a faculty to fellow to faculty program. Last year, we were going to hire 12. We had 6 who were actually hired and matriculated here to USC. So we have 6 more in the pool for last year that will remain in the pool for this year, plus an additional 12. So a call was made. There were 23 different departments that have submitted applications for those 12 positions. And those are being reviewed now by the Office of Access, Civil Rights, and Community Engagement, Julian, our Vice President of that office, and Associate Vice President Michelle O'Brien. So once those are reviewed, they'll come to the Provost Office to review, and then we'll be launching those searches hopefully by the end of October. I also wanted to report our great progress on this app we called Circle In. I've reported on it at the last meeting. This is a program created by a company but funded by the National Science Foundation, and it utilizes a social media platform for students to engage with each other and with their TAs. as a way to try to build study groups and ways to communicate and build community in classes. And we're testing it in our 2 classes with very high DF or withdrawal rates. That's calculus and accounting. So we're doing so well that Dr. Laura Lamika Anderson today was asked to present to all of the Circle N universities that are participating in the NSF study this fall, because we are the #1 university, and it's all due to Laura's really innovative and creative engagement of faculty. So we're providing some financial incentives for faculty, but we're providing student incentives with pizza parties. But it's just an absolutely, from an engagement perspective, a fantastic tool. So just to give you some sense about it, 100% of classes are participating. We have over almost 1,200 users and about 180 different actions for every student that's engaged. And over 7,000 different flashcards have been created for students to share with each other across these accounting and calculus classes. So what students are saying, they direct message each other within the app. They warn each other about homework issues and show each other how to work through the challenges of that homework. And they thank each other, emojis and smileys and hearts, and is creating a nice culture of appreciation in those classes, which are, as you know, if you've taken them, challenging classes. And the faculty are liking it too. They believe that it's helping them engage more with their students, and they get direct feedback from the students, which they find helpful, early feedback, not at the end of the semester. Which leads me to my last point. A big focus of mine this past semester and over the summer is thinking through how we capture student teaching evaluations. And so we talked about this at my last meeting. Our overall response rate for the university is just 23%. So why does this matter to me? It matters to me because in every one of our promotion documents in every department, teaching evaluations play a key role. There are also other things like peer evaluation of teaching, but the actual teaching evaluations themselves carry weight in those promotion documents that I have to review. So I want us to have excellent information from our students. So a 23% success rate is just not good enough. So we're still working with the Senate Committee in Dev to discuss, first of all, how can we make evaluation better? We all know that teaching evaluations are biased, but we're also looking into which platforms may be the best to capture student evaluations. I also asked Dr. Lamika Anderson to conduct some focus groups with both students and faculty to understand why are you not responding to student evaluations, or what faculty feel like are barriers to student evaluations. So we found some really interesting items, particularly from the students. So from the students, they say, well, there's too many questions, which we suspected that was a part of the issue, but they're also using Rate My Professor. That's the thing they go to first to figure out whether or not to take someone's course. They also had suggestions for getting points for football tickets if they submitted their evaluations. The challenge with that is that football season's kind of over by the time we do our fall student evaluations, and it wouldn't work too well for the spring. But if you're interested in the results, both of the faculty and the students, I'm happy to send those along to the Senate. But I think you'll find it informative. We're trying to capture all stakeholder groups to see how we do a better job of capturing our teaching, because we know you're excellent teachers and we really care about capturing that excellence. So with that, I conclude my report, and I'm happy to take questions if there are any. I don't think we have anyone running mics today. Oh, maybe we do. Here we go.
Yes, my name's Rhonda Sanders. I'm from the math department. I wasn't at our last meeting, which would have been my first because I was quarantined with COVID, I was participating from home. And I just wanted to clarify one point because I know that one of the senators from nursing brought up the fact that perhaps our bottleneck courses, one of the issues was class size. And you spoke to the point that our class sections for calculus are fewer than 20, and that was confirmed by one of the senators from mathematics. But I wanted to clarify that point. It is honest to say that our section size is less than 20. Our section size is 15. What's also honest is to say that those classes meet in class size of 60 because 4 of those sections meet together. And even the recitation and labs meet 2 sections at a time. So the lab and recitation are both size 30. So the truth of the matter is that the size 15 is pretty much smoke and mirrors because they never meet in size 15. So I just wanted to clarify that point.
Well, thank you. And even more important to have these hopefully great applications to solve that issue.
Abbas Tawakoli with College of Nursing. I was wondering about those courses, calculus and accounting. How we select those courses to have those are we comparing with the other section or classes? And I was wondering about the process of how we talking about successful those app. What is our metric to measure those?
So we have classes that are participating and classes that are not participating. The courses were selected because of their DFW rates in excess of 20%, and they're large courses required by many majors. So up to 10,000 students will take one of those 2 courses this given year. So we capped our expenditure for this. We still had to pay, I think, $15,000 total, which is not very much, to participate in this study because the NSF is co-funding it. So that's how we selected the courses, and then we'll be comparing the DFW rates between the courses that used the app and did not.
So everything is the same for those 2 groups we comparing, right? And the size is pretty much comparable, right? Okay. And the other question about the evaluation you mentioned, that is true. The number of questions we're looking at that, I guess I'm on one of those focus group. But also the number of evaluation the student have to take during semester. Some of the unit, they do midterm evaluation and other things. And if you have clinical course, they do didactic and then clinical. We have to look at all of those because if I was going to take those survey, be honest, I wouldn't take all of them. So that is a student select which course they would evaluate. We have to look at all of those too.
Thank you.
Hello, Tess. Yeah, I just want to say that before we went to the electronic evaluations, we had handwritten evaluation in the class. So we would set aside 10 or 20 minutes at the end of some class. But if you do that with these evaluations, they go on their phones or devices, you get a pretty high response. That's been my experience.
Could you please state your name and your unit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Milind Kunchur from physics.
Thank you.
Thank you for that suggestion.
Hi, I'm Agnes Müller from Languages, Literatures and Cultures, and I have a different question. I heard that you're currently re-evaluating the first-year reading experience program, and I was wondering if you could give an update on what's happening with that.
So we are right at the beginning of that evaluation. So Dr. Laura Lamika Anderson, she's a busy person, has been leading a charge. The group has met for the first time. It's a combined committee of students and faculty that have been involved. You know, the first year reading experience program has really been staff led for the most part, and it's kind of fallen out of the curriculum in most places. So Laura is leading that effort to identify best practices and ways that we could work to build a first-year experience, whether it's reading or some other venue. So that the faculty will be working with students to decide its future. Anything else? All right, thank you. I turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Provost Arnett. I don't have a specific report as chair. I do have some new business that will come up a little bit later in the meeting, so I'll be up here again. I'd like to now move on to reports of the faculty committees, beginning with curricula and courses, who is represented by Brian Habing, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Oh, yeah, sorry. And before we begin, can I get maybe 2 volunteers in the back to run microphones? Do we have 2 sets of microphones or 1 set? We have 2 mics. Could I get 2 folks in the back to volunteer to carry microphones? If I see Audrey is 1, can I get another? No good Samaritans, the bearded gentleman, the handsome bearded gentleman in the back. Thank you. If you 2 wouldn't mind, if we have questions, just taking the mics, because the cameraman needs to stay focused on the camera to capture all the beautiful folks up here. All right. Pull up the CNC report, and then I'll let you scroll as you need to.
Before we get to the actual report, we do have 3 brief announcements just for the good of the order. For the newer senators, the full new program and course proposal descriptions are not contained in the document, but you'll notice near the top of the page, there's this link here. If you ever need to find something, if you click on that link near the top, it will take you to the apps system and will let you see all of the approval process and comments that have been made on all of the courses. If you find out you do not have access to that and you're a faculty senator, email Sharon and I, and we will make sure and get you access to that. The second thing is that Sharon and I are happy to get any comments on the meetings, the proposals for the meetings in advance of the meetings, so that we can deal with those before we get here and hopefully have things straightened out. And so we've added a new paragraph to the report that has our contact information. So if you ever notice anything going through it, let us know, and then we can try to work out some of those things in advance. And then finally, the biggest date of the year for us is getting things ready for the December Faculty Senate meeting, which is December 6th, because that's the last time any new course or program can be approved for the fall 2024 bulletin. If you would like to do that, that shows up at our November 8th CNC meeting, which means we need it by October 25th, which means it needs to be in the system in time for your college and everyone else to process it. So if you think you're going to have something in the fall 2024 bulletin, it should almost be there now. If there's an emergency, we understand things happen. So we would not be surprised if there are 1, 2, or 3 programs or courses that need emergency surgery. There will not be 20 or 30 of them. We have 1 change to the report before we get going. In the Strategic Thinking and Communications Certificate, there are 2 cross-listed courses, Philosophy 213 and SPCH 213. They are not indicated as being cross-listed. When it goes in the bulletin, we will have an or between them. The students cannot take those twice. The Committee on Curriculum and Courses met on September 13th and discussed a number of proposals. The committee would like to approve 45 proposals, with 4 from the College of Information and Communications, 25 from the College of Engineering and Computing, 12 from the College of Arts and Sciences, 1 from the College of Education, and 3 from Interdisciplinary Studies.
Okay, this is a report from the committee, so it's a motion essentially to approve these and does not require a second. Is there any discussion? Yeah, I see a hand in the front, one of my mic volunteers getting the workout in.
Thank you. My name is Michael Valtort, and I'm in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. I want to apologize to the committee chairs in particular for not sending this question in advance, but the report came in rather late.
I can carry a mic, I can't.
Again, I'm Marco Valtorta, the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. I apologize to the committee chairs for not sending this question in advance. In the 3 certificates that are at the end of the report,
data visualization certificate, the project leadership and management, and strategic thinking and communication certificates as well. There is some primary proponent contact information and program home information. Now, our course policy and procedure document, the ACAF on new course development, indicates that an academic unit should be the home of for a new course, so that the new course should be initiated by an academic unit. This is not stated in the same way for programs and for certificates, for example. Nevertheless, the apps application requires a program home. And the heading for program home starts off the three categories for program home are primary academic unit and department. These are the three required fields, college and campus. Campus, of course, Columbia, but primary academic unit and department here is given in interdisciplinary studies and college interdisciplinary programs. I don't think that interdisciplinary programs is actually a college. And I wonder what the committee, whether the committee has thought about this. Maybe simply the form needs to be changed. Maybe there is something a little deeper here, that we need a new academic unit to deal with this kind of interdisciplinary certificates. Maybe we need an existing academic unit to take charge and be responsible for the introduction of these new certificates and similar programs. Thank you.
A similar issue has come up before our committee on courses and having a home, and we would definitely have issues before they were put somewhere and discussion would be needed. I have to say that our committee did not discuss whether or not the form was appropriate for that, and we can certainly look into that. I believe there are representatives from the Interdisciplinary Studies Committee. Is there one? If they would like to address that. I'm not sure if they're not a senator, if they need a senator to give a motion that they're able to, or how that works.
Can I request that they address the Senate? Yeah, okay. I request that they address the Senate to help answer that question.
Sure. We have an interdisciplinary committee that advises.
Sorry, could you identify yourself? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm Shelley Dempsey, and I am with the Provost Office, and I co-chair this committee with Alicia Rebar, who is of the College of Nursing. She's unable to be here today. So she and I spoke earlier in case additional information was needed. But the committee advises the provost in terms of how the apps process works. And so in a similar way that the schools and colleges submit and advise in apps, the same thing happens with this committee. The committee is made up of a faculty representative from every school and college. They are nominated by their deans. And this was a process that was discussed with the deans in advance for how would we maintain the interdisciplinary nature of these certificates in advance to make sure all schools and colleges had the opportunity to express concern and express support for the different courses that would be part of them. And so I can say as part of the process, this interdisciplinary committee made all the decisions based on the names of the certificates, the learning objectives for the certificates, and then we went through course by course by course, every course from every school and college to design what the certificates would look like. And it was a unanimous vote by the members of that committee for what came forward to the provost and then to those of you from faculty governance. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think he'd like to clarify or perhaps restate, yeah.
Thank you, Shelley Dempsey. This is Marco Valtorta, Department of Computer Science and Engineering again. I would like to point out the exact wording of in ACAF 2.03 concerning courses in section C1A. Section C, faculty governance. 1, initiation of course actions and unit approval. A, course actions will begin in a department or unit of a campus, college, or school. The proponent of a course action should consult the unit academic program liaison, APL, early in the process. So that doesn't seem to allow for this kind of advisory committee-based initiation of a course action. Again, I don't see the exact wording, the exact same wording for a certificate, okay? But for a course, this is very clear. There is some analogical things you can see with the certificates. There is some wording that seems to indicate that for programs such as certificates, there should be, so there's a note in ACAP 2.0 in D3, new academic certificate programs fall under the same guidance as new majors. So looking at that would not be a bad idea. But I would say for courses at least, this system seems to be clearly not compatible with the current policy. Thank you.
May I add one more thing?
Sure.
Is that okay to clarify? I just wanted to clarify that there are already some educational programs that I'm looking at that are under interdisciplinary studies. This was pre-existing, and they are shared by education and arts and sciences. So this model was already in existence. And my understanding is it also exists in the graduate programs. And so this area already existed. It was not existed for the purpose, not created for the purpose of these certificates, if that helps to clarify. It was pre-existing.
They start with that committee for the provost and all of the academic units on campus. Or all the colleges do.
Any further discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. The next report will be from the Faculty Advisory Committee. Bill Sudduth is chair. There we go.
There we go. Afternoon, we're bringing this for your information, and we'll bring it up to vote next meeting in November. This is a motion that was actually before the Faculty Advisory Committee in the spring. We passed it in our March meeting, but in all the business at the end of the spring semester, it did not get before Senate. The Faculty Advisory Committee has relooked at it and passed it again in our September meeting. And what this has to do is it has to do with the makeup of the Graduate Council. This was requested and sent to us by the Graduate Council. Again, it's just having to do with the membership. It does not change the purpose and what the Graduate Council does. We have looked at it. And the Graduate Council did some of the number crunching when they sent it to us and said this should not change how large the Graduate Council is. It's just to make it a little more fit and flexible as to changes in graduate student enrollment as it might happen over the years. Any immediate questions? But we will be bringing it back for your vote in November. So take it back to your units and look over it.
We have one person in the front.
Hanno Zaloya from the Department of Chemistry. So I was curious, in your listing, it says each faculty member from dean-led colleges. So you're not differentiating between large and small colleges, basically. So would it not, since this is for graduate degrees, that it's sort of proportional to the graduate enrollment, perhaps, rather than just going strictly by colleges?
That's why there's the one additional faculty member from each dean-led college or school with graduate student enrollment exceeding 400. So graduate programs that are large, getting to the 400 number would have an additional appointees. Thank you for your question.
I think there's one more in the very front row.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Carol Harrison from History. I'm wondering why the decision to move away from members selected by the graduate faculty to asking academic unit deans to implement a selection procedure.
That was the recommendation they sent to us.
So is there any reason for that?
Is there a graduate council representative here?
If you would like, I will go back and ask, and
maybe we can invite them for the November meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So noted. No other questions? Thank you.
This document and any other new documents that we bring up today will get posted to the Senate website so that you can look at these between now and November, just so you know. I apologize for not having it up prior to this meeting, but this was just a notification. We'll have further discussion with the motion in November, of course. Okay, next I'd like the Committee on Scholastic Standards and Petitions to present a report. Their chair is Bill Knapp. So you didn't have a document, did you, or did you?
I didn't put one up on here.
Okay.
So we'll have to vote on it next time. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think that would be the appropriate procedure anyway, but you can go through the text.
Okay, so yeah, at our last meeting for S&P, it was proposed to make a change in our course grade forgiveness. Most of the change, and we'll get this posted after this, so today is just kind of a notification, so we can vote next time. Most of this was to clarify the language that was in here, and also to acknowledge that some of our branch campuses have different policies on grade forgiveness. Most importantly, the proposal is to help our dual enrollment employees, our dual enrollment students, because with the change, if they have trouble with a course, then they can apply for forgiveness, whereas before that they were unable to do that. The S&P committee didn't have any problems with it, but we'll get that posted for you to take a look at, and we can vote next. But right now, did anyone have any immediate questions? We're good for now?
Okay.
All right, thank you much.
Yeah, thank you. And now we'll ask for admissions committee chair to come forward, Laura Herbert. You don't have, do you have slides?
No, I don't.
Okay.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Herbert. I'm the chair of the Committee on Admissions, and last month I gave you advance notice of a motion that I was bringing forward today. I actually have two issues to bring forward to you today. The first one is a motion about test optional. When I say test optional, I mean the SAT and ACT tests that high school students take. So just some background. As a result of the pandemic from 2020, most high school students were unable to complete an SAT or ACT test for the 2021 admissions cycle. And so this led many universities, not only USC, but many universities to consider a test optional admissions policy. Now, in 2021, the admissions committee presented a motion to Faculty Senate to adopt the test optional admissions through the fall of 2023, which was approved. And now here we are. So I do have Scott Verzile, the Vice President of Enrollment Management, at the meeting today to answer any of your questions. He says that we participate in a national research project sponsored by the College Board to study test optional admissions, and we outperform other institutions on nearly every measure, which makes a strong case for us to continue test optional. So based on data collected from 2 admission cycles, our non-testing students do as well or better than those who submitted SAT or ACT testing scores. So the Committee on Admissions is making a motion today to continue test optional admissions for the foreseeable future, subject to our committee's periodic review. So if our committee is ever dissatisfied with the results, then we can act and bring forward another amendment to Faculty Senate to change the policy. And since this is coming from committee, we don't need a second, so I'll open it up for any questions or discussion.
Abbas Tawakoli with College of Nursing. I agree with the motion. I don't want to. I want to ask a question regarding when the test is optional, especially for honor school. Is that if the student doesn't record their test, it penalizes them or not? How are they going to look at it in admission? I just want to make sure it's the same for a student who report if they are qualified for all other metrics and they do not report their SAT or SAT, is that going to affect them in terms of admission to the honor school?
Hello. Good question. Yes, so we have developed a holistic review process, and we've used it for years, particularly with honors college applicants. Students are allowed to choose their admission plan if they want to choose the test optional plan, or if they'd like to choose a plan where their scores are reviewed, and we students make that choice. The process that we've designed treats students fairly regardless of whether they have scores or not. And we've always had some students that don't submit scores. A good example would be international students. So we've have a track record of evaluating students for the honors college and for regular admission who don't have some part of the required, whether it's, they may be at a type of school that doesn't grade the same way, or they don't have access to the test. We don't hold it against the student, and we treat them fairly.
Milan Kuncher from physics. I had a basic question. What's the benefit of excluding the SAT? Is it because we're competing with schools that have it optional, or what do you lose by having the SAT being required?
So there's been, you want me to take it? Okay. So there's been a movement for years towards test optional admissions. You may have read or heard about how the test scores have been under fire for years, concerns about fairness and access and test prep and things like that. And so there's been a movement for years more and more towards test optional admissions. The pandemic accelerated that to the point now that 97% of the AAU schools in the country and 94% of the R1 universities in the country are now test optional. If we were not test optional, we would put ourselves at a competitive disadvantage when recruiting students.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question here in the sort of middle front.
Aaron Dicker, English. Did the committee consider option 3, which is making it so the test can't be submitted? And if so, why did they choose not to go with that option?
So for some students, the test is helpful to them in the admission process. So that's why it's optional. There are some schools, very few, I think, that don't accept them at all, but most schools do have an optional plan. I'll also point out that our state lottery scholarship programs, the Palmetto Fellows and the Life Scholarship, the eligibility criteria for those involves test scores as one of those. So we would We are actually receiving test scores from students who are admitted test optional, but their test scores are used to qualify for scholarships.
There's one, yep, one over here on the far left, my left.
Hi, my name is Alton Croker from Health Services Policy and Management. Just curious, are all students informed that submitting test scores would make them eligible for scholarships?
So we do consider students for scholarships on test optional basis as well. So they can, when they choose test optional for the university scholarships, they're evaluated for admission and for university scholarships, test optional. But if they want one of the state scholarships, we then use the scores to qualify them for those after admission.
All right, any other questions?
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion passes. Yeah, and you have a second.
Yeah, second one. Okay, the second issue I want to bring forward to you originated in the Scholastic Standards and Petitions Committee, and it was referred to the Committee on Admissions just because there is overlap. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history before I tell you about my motion. The policy that I'm going to talk about there's nothing wrong with it, it's just old, and it needs to be updated and brought back up to 2023. So there are AS and A-level exams. There's secondary school exit exams that students take in the United Kingdom and other countries worldwide. And it's similar to an advanced placement or AP, and international baccalaureate, which are IB exams. So these AS or A exams or advanced level exams are commonly equated to college credit by universities in the United States. So in the U.S., Cambridge AS or A-level exams are being offered more frequently at United States high schools. And that's why we're starting to see 30 to 40 students with these Cambridge level exams every year. In fact, the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education mandated last year that all public colleges and universities accept the Cambridge AS or A-level exams with a minimum score of E. So their grading scale is a little bit different from ours. Their CDEs are kind of like our C plus, C or C minus. So a score of E is like a C minus. So the UK Department of Education, they set the content requirements that must be covered in all of these AS or A-level exams. And then there's an Office of Qualifications and Examinations Regulation. It's called OFQUAL, and they regulate the exam boards. So currently, Cambridge International is the only AS or A-level exam board that USC recognizes. But we're beginning to see AS and A-level exams from exam boards other than Cambridge. And so there are 2 additional UK exam boards that are authorized to offer AS or A-level exams. There's the Oxford AQA and the Pearson Edexcel. So these 2 additional exam boards offer a standard set of exams, which makes it easy to maintain data standards across all exams and USC equivalencies. However, there are other organizations across the globe that claim to offer AS or A-level exams, and the university registrar recommends that we only offer course credit to AS or A-level exams offered by exam boards that the OFQUAL recognizes and regulates. So that's the background. So our Committee on Admissions has already voted, and now we are making the motion to update our exam credit admissions policy to include 2 additional UK exam boards authorized to offer these AS or A-level exams. the Oxford AQA, and the Pearson EdExcel. And we also want to limit future recognition of exam boards to only those that are recognized by Ofqual. And this policy update is supported by the University Registrar and the Scholastic Standards and Petitions Committee.
Okay, that was a motion from committee, so it does not need a second. Any discussion? One here in the front. Oh, yeah.
Mark Manette, Senator from English. So the limitation of future to only those that Ofqual administers, could you speak to what the impact would be of that? So would that allow the registrar to automatically approve the use of any exams that Ofqual administers, or would it bind the Senate somehow from changing the language to approve that? I'm not sure what you see the impact has been.
No, my understanding is because Ofqual regulates the exam boards, they're setting a higher standard. So as long as we only accept exams that are regulated by that exam board, then we're going to be accepting a higher standard, because there apparently are lots of other exams worldwide.
But I guess, would that mean that we automatically accept any exams approved by or administered by Ofqual?
Just these other two.
Just these two?
Just Oxford AQA or the Pearson EdExcel.
Okay, so what would that language get us then? The extra about only approving programs administered by Ofqual in the future?
Scott has a response.
If I could jump in. So what I believe I think I understand your question. What we do want is that if Ofqual were to approve another group, that they would automatically be swept. We would not have to come back to ask for adding the additional one in. So correct, Aaron. I have the registrar here as well. They're pretty tight on who they would, how they regulate, and so this would be similar to. We have a similar policy for English language testing. We accept English language testing services that are already approved by NACES. So if it's not that, we won't take it. But if there were a new test that came along that was an English language test and they approved it, then we would automatically accept it. So it's a similar kind of thing.
Thank you.
Did I get that correct, Aaron? Yeah.
So I guess, we don't have the language in front of us that we're voting on, but would it be better to say we accept these two and any that Ofqual approve in the future, rather than only ones that Ofqual, that in the future we will only accept ones that Ofqual approves? I think that might clear up ambiguity, and maybe it's just ambiguity for me, but it would help me, so.
Okay, so yeah, I'm happy to amend the motion to say that we want to update the exam credit admissions policy to include these two additional UK exam boards offered, authorized, and include any future, is that what you said? Future exams that are...
Any exams that Ofqual...
That are recognized by
Ofqual in the future.
And include any future exams that are authorized by Ofqual.
Yeah.
Was my amendment clear?
Yeah, we do need a second for the amendment. Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on the amendment to change the language about the authorizing organization? All those in favor of that amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. Any further discussion on the motion, the main motion, or the amended main motion? Okay. All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the amended motion passes. Can you get me the text, the final text, and I'll make sure I put it on the website. Okay, thanks. Okay, Feng Meng here yet? She's the chair of the bookstore committee. I know she was possibly not going to be here till 4. Okay, I'd like to delay her bookstore committee report briefly because she was coming here from another responsibility, but says she should be here by 4. So do I need to officially move to do that, or can I do that as chair? Yeah, are there any objections to delaying the bookstore committee report until she arrives? Okay, hearing none, I will proceed. Does the secretary have a report?
You know, I would just
Well, maybe you should get a mic since we have some folks. Yeah. Or you can approach the podium if you so desire.
Okay, I can do that too.
It's your moment in the spotlight.
I never needed that. It has to be tenured, right?
For secretary, yes.
Okay. I'm reaching out to any tenured faculty members to seriously consider being secretary. It really is a lovely, I'm not joking, a lovely job. You're laughing at me. You meet a lot of wonderful people across campus that I would never do and never meet. I rarely get out of my office. I'm, like a hermit. And so if you're tenured, seriously think about it. You get a lot of props from people, but it really is easy. Everything is recorded. And it doesn't take a lot of time. And yet on your service, when you go to meet your boss is like, oh, you're inundated on service. Yeah, I know I am. I know, just give me more. And so it's really a win-win. So if you're even thinking about it, I'm serious, come to me, talk to me. I'll show you the ropes. It's really wonderful. I'm serious. Oh, I saw that negative. No, come on.
Okay, and on that note, that was a nice segue into the next item on the agenda, which is the election to fill standing committee vacancies and I'm going to lump the secretary-elect position in with that. Let me pull up that list. Let's see. Okay, so there were a number of what we call summer vacancies, or some of them even fall vacancies, that popped up in the standing committees since the election last spring. The way the process works is typically the chairs get a chance to recommend some candidates to fill those vacancies, but then we also bring it to the floor of the Senate for any additional nominations for those vacancies. Keep in mind the person being nominated has to already agreed to do this, or you have to be pretty much 100% sure they agree to do this. If you're happy with the current nominees for these vacancies, and I'm going to go through them in just a second, but if you're happy with these, then we can leave them as they are, and upon adjournment of this meeting, they will essentially fill those vacancies and be elected or fill those positions officially. Okay, but of course, if someone in this room would like to nominate someone or nominate themselves to fill a vacancy, then we'll move forward with a contested election if necessary. Okay, so the vacancies we're going to cover today, faculty appellate panel. The chair there has gotten agreement from Julia Lopez Robertson to fill that vacancy. There was a single vacancy. There were 2 vacancies on NDEV, and the chair of NDEV has agreement from Stephanie Armstrong and Laura Truell to fill those. There are 2 vacancies on the Libraries Committee. Karen McDonnell or McDonnell, I'm not sure exactly if I'm pronouncing that right, has agreed to fill one of those vacancies. We still have a second vacancy that we have no candidates for currently. For the Tenure Review Board, Bert Ely and Susan Bond have agreed to fill those positions, or agreed to be nominated, I should say, to fill those positions. And then, as Marianne just mentioned, we still need a nominee for the secretary-elect position. So if anyone has any nominees for any of these positions, including secretary-elect, if you'd like to step forward and nominate yourself, I open the floor to that at this time. Yeah, there's I recognize the person in the back, and we have a mic. Yeah.
Casey Whitener, Senator from Management. I'll volunteer for the Libraries Committee.
Great. And sorry, could you repeat your name? Or maybe you could write it down for me, Dan, would you mind?
Yeah, it's Casey, K-A-S-I-E. Last name is Whitener, W-H-I-T-E-N-E-R. I'm in the management department at the Moore School.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So that vacancy, yeah, that definitely deserves applause. That vacancy now, we have 2 candidates now for libraries. Any further nominations? No takers on secretary-elect? You get a whole year off before you actually have to do anything, right, Mary Ann? It's not till next fall that you would take over. Yeah, yeah. So you would get to hang out with Mary Ann and learn ropes. As she mentioned, these meetings are recorded, so you do not have to scribble furiously while you're sitting in the meeting. Okay, well, we'll leave it open. I believe, according to the parliamentarian, we will not vote on that position until the earliest would be November, or November would be the appropriate time for secretary-elect. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah, is there a question or a nomination? Question. Okay, wait for the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll point that out.
Abu Sawakoli with College of Nursing. I was wondering, is there, maybe it's by law, why secretary has to be tenure track? Because we have a lot of professional, and also in our college, we could have asked people to do service as secretary, but it's going to limit just for tenure track.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is because the FM says so, but I don't know what the rationale was for that originally. It could be something to look at, perhaps in the FAC, if they want to make a change to that. I mean, there are some matters that come before the steering committee and perhaps other matters that, but I think we have professional track on the steering committee, so that actually is not even an issue. Yeah, I don't know why, but that is what it says in the faculty manual. So maybe we should look at changing that to make it easier to find someone. Okay, the nominations will stay open until we adjourn, so you can always jump in later if you feel moved. The parliamentarian did want me to, he pointed out, and I need to mention, for the secretary-elect position, even though we're not going to vote on that until November, you cannot nominate someone on the floor in November. We'll have to have the nominee before the November meeting so we can, I mean, hopefully we'll find someone to put on the ballot, but we cannot have nominations at that meeting. We just have the vote. All right. Okay. Old business. So it was brought to my attention about 5 minutes before the meeting that we had that really probably I have made a mistake and forgotten to include something in old business that it should have been there from September. Apparently in the meeting, meeting minutes from the meeting where the professional track faculty committee was more or less, sorry, let me back up for a second. So for those of you who may remember who served last year, there was a quite extensive discussion on some proposed changes to the faculty manual from the professional track faculty committee. And at the overall resolution of that, I mistakenly thought was that had been sent back to the committee to be revised. And then because of the passage of time since that meeting till now, that original motion would have essentially died, and it would be any new action would be new action. However, it was brought to my attention that perhaps I was wrong about that, and I had not actually gone back to look at the minutes, but I mean, I believe the informant, the person who told me this, that in fact what was said was that the committee, that the change to the faculty manual, that motion would be sent back to the committee to basically report back to the Senate at the September meeting. Now, again, I haven't looked at the minutes myself, but assuming that's true, technically, we should have had a report from the professional track faculty committee at the September meeting on the progress of that, of the revision of that language, which was not passed in the spring. I don't even actually know if anyone from the professional track committee is in attendance today, either Bree or no, I don't see anyone. Yeah, so you have a comment. Let me just finish my thought and then I'll turn to. I'm on the committee. Oh, you're on the committee. Oh, great. So Marco is on the committee. I don't know if it's appropriate or if you feel comfortable coming up to comment on where the revision stands, or if you could also ask that we delay this until the November meeting when the committee may bring forward. I would have asked the FAC chair to also comment on this because I know the two committees are working together, but I think Bill might have left already. Yeah. Okay, could we have a microphone for Marco, who is a member of he's a tenure track member of the PTF committee.
Thank you. Marco Valtorta, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and as you say, Chair Otten, I am in fact the tenure track faculty member on that committee. So we are meeting and revising our proposal. In part, I would be clear, this has also to do with changes of personnel in the office of the provost. So there have been discussions with new vice provost in particular, or a new vice provost in that office. So we will address this more fully in future meetings. That's where we are.
Okay. To the gentleman who brought that to my attention, is that or if you want to, okay, yeah. I assume now we'll have some discussion or questions from Marco on this.
So
could you identify yourself, please?
Aaron Dicker, English. 2 questions. So I'll start with the first one. Since this is a committee on professional track faculty, I'm just wondering what is the breakdown of members of the committee that are professional track faculty and what units or colleges do they comprise?
I'm afraid I don't know off the top of my head.
I believe it's on the faculty website, Understanding Committees.
Yeah, and the breakdown is in the faculty manual under the description of the committee, and then the current members should be on the Senate website. I mean, I won't swear there's not any mistakes on the Senate website, but we're trying to get it updated as best we can.
The second question, in our meetings in April, a major concern was that the committee was not tasked with providing a justification document for their proposal. And since that justification document wasn't provided, we didn't really know why they had made the decisions they made, even though there's still no standing requirement for that justification document. Does the committee plan on providing one when they submit new changes?
By that, I assume you mean a rationale section of their motion, something like that.
Thank you. This has been discussed. I suspect it will be done, but I cannot answer definitely, I'm afraid.
Any further questions for Marco about that issue? Thank you, Marco, for jumping in at the last second with no warning. Again, I take responsibility for that oversight, so I apologize. Is there any other old business that I may have also forgotten about? Okay, I will get to, yeah. Before, yeah, yes, go ahead.
Hello. Hi, Alex Reynolds, psychology. I think, so this is my first year on Faculty Senate. I went to the April meetings because I'm a professional track faculty member. I think there was some confusion about separating some of the faculty manual changes and voting rights and all that. And I think there was a lot of confusion about what people were not voting on, what was going back to the committee. Is there any direction for how we're going to move forward, for example, with the title changes for professional track faculty? Because like our department's being asked to make a document about criteria for how we assess instructor, senior instructor, and if the titles are going to end up changing, that will impact how we write this criteria promotion document up. So I was just kind of curious, are things going to be sort of separated out and voted separately, or is everything lumped into one vote? Like how, I'm just curious how that's going to proceed.
Right. Audrey, do you have, so 2 things on that. First, I thought there was actually a policy change for the titles, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if the vice provost or someone from the provost office wants to comment on that. Yep. For the professional track faculty titles.
The Marianne Fitzpatrick, is this live? I'm the secret vice provost that Margo was talking about. One of the things we're working on, for example, we are about to send a memo out to the deans. We're going to modify a little bit what your dean has told you to do. in terms of getting these professional track promotional guidelines organized. And we're going to say, using the faculty policy, we have instructor, senior instructor, and we have distinguished instructor in the policy. So we are going to request everyone to actually devise guidelines for those 3 levels on a principle of equity. The title change is a fairly easy thing to do once the faculty, I always say that about HR, that's probably not true. But in other words, getting the guidelines down and getting the 2-step process is the important thing. We can change the titles once, we haven't changed any titling, but we have distinguished instructor in our guidelines so far, and it says this must be approved by the provost and the president. It's been approved. Okay, so if you can do that, and then the faculty decides to call them teaching assistant professors or assistant professors of instruction, whatever you decide, I can then move very expeditiously, change the policy, and we can change the HR. You know, I would like to say with a press of a button, but I've been here too long to say that, but I think that can be accomplished. So the key thing is to work on those promotional guidelines. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah. And to be honest, I don't recall in all of the hubbub about voting rights and other issues, did we pass a section on titles in the most recent batch of FM changes? We did not. Okay, so that will be something that comes back up, obviously. Yeah, I know, me too. I mean, I've looked at it so much I should have it memorized, but I don't. Does the secretary have something to add?
This is separate, but I want to respond to Aaron's question or concern. 5 different colleges are represented on the professional track, including arts and sciences. It's engineering, nursing, pharmacy, arts and sciences, and Darla Moore. I just answered you. So all of them, I'm sorry, 4 of the 5, only engineering has 1 person, and that's Marco. All the other colleges have professional track faculty. Does that help answer your question? I finally got it right. Okay, there you go.
Great, but I think to your point, it'll really be up to the professional track faculty committee and hopefully in consultation with FAC, how they bring things forward, how they package the different pieces so that hopefully we can keep track of things a little better. I do feel like a lot was jammed into a few meetings that, I mean, just because we had no choice, you know, in the spring. So there was a lot of stuff to try to get through so we can make the changes. Hopefully this year, maybe we can do it in a little more measured way, but you know, no promises.
So I will also address this, if I may. Again, Marco Valtorta, Computer Science and Engineering. In fact, a major part of our current effort is to restructure Section 2C of the faculty manual, following many suggestions that were received from colleagues. So that is happening now.
Great. Any other old business before we circle back around to the bookstore committee report? Great. Okay, at this time, I'd like to go back up the agenda to the bookstore committee report, and Chair Feng Meng will have a presentation, I believe. Yes. Yeah, and it's all being run through.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Otten, and good afternoon, faculty senators. Sorry I was late because I had a class to teach. On behalf of the bookstore committee, I'm here to provide a brief heads up for the First Day Complete program proposed by Barnes Noble College. So here I have to clarify that all the information we had is based on the focus group that we, other bookstore committee members, and then I attended on the September 19th. So, basically, to be honest, currently I also have limited knowledge about the First Day Complete program. all the talking points for today's presentation is based on the best knowledge of the bookstore committee. So as we know that bookstore committee, University Bookstore conducted 5 focus groups on the September 18th and 19th on faculty and staff on campus. It's actually on the Russell House, the bookstore. And they are in the data collection and exploration stage of considering adopting this first day complete program. So I emailed all the previous bookstore committee members and the current bookstore committee members. So there are 14 people informed, and I received the email from Joe Fortune, who coordinates with Barnes Nobles and also the provost office. So two of the bookstore committee members, including me, attended the focus group. And altogether, as far as I know, I checked with Sarah Poley, the bookstore manager. Altogether, 9 faculty members attended these focus groups. So basically now we still have very limited data on the faculty's feedback. So basically the following information are what we received from the presentation of the Barnes Noble people on the focus group. So students will pay a flat fee of $20 per credit hour for the textbook, and full-time student will be charged $300 per semester. That's based on the 15 credit hour per semester. If they register more credit hours, they will pay more. Basically, it's $20 per credit hour. And it's an automatic opt-in program. So students can choose to opt out by the last day of the add drop at the beginning of each semester. So otherwise, if the student don't opt out, they will be charged $20 per credit hour for the textbook for that semester. And then all the textbook will be rental. So student, either it's an electronic or hard copy, it depends on the faculty members' requirement. Students must return the books at the bookstore at the end of the semester if it's a hard copy. If it's an electronic version, they don't need to do anything. It will be expired anyway. So, but students have the choice to purchase the book at the discount rate at the end of the semester. But based on Barnes Noble people, only 2%, or they said less than 2% of the students literally buy the textbook after they finish the semester. And then the students cannot opt out for only certain courses. So it's all in or not. So if they don't have a textbook, if one course has no requirement on the textbook, they still, if they are still in the program, they have still to pay the $60 for that course. Otherwise, they have to opt out for all the courses for that semester. So that's what I understand. And then also it's a separate course charge. So it will be a separate billing to the students beyond the tuition fees. So every semester the student needs to check whether they need to stay opt-in or they need to choose to opt out. Otherwise they will be charged. So that's all the information regarding this First Day Complete program. And as far as Facebook webpage on the AUP and also some other faculty members in the university also email me to inform me about also their information from other universities. So other universities are being charged at different rates. For us, it's $20 per credit hour, but for other universities could be $22 for the College of Charleston, and for Lancaster, it's $25 per credit hour. So we don't know whether there will be a price raise in the future or not. And also the bookstore committee is not sure whether this will be a decision directly made by the provost office or through the faculty senate vote. Maybe, yeah, Dr. Alton will have more clear answer on this. And also the bookstore committee is not sure about the timeline of the decision-making program. So we are still trying to collect more information and more feedback from the faculty. So that's the status at this point. And we also, the bookstore committee already had a meeting to discuss this. And we find some webpage for you to check. Also, of course, you are not limited to these websites. You are encouraged to search information about the pros and the cons of adopting this program. And we shared some web page here. It's called inclusiveaccess.org. This is only for the digital textbook only. So first day complete in our university, if we adopt it, we'll have hard copies and electronic textbook. So this organization talks a little bit more about what is inclusive access textbook option. So basically, yeah, the students will have the digital content and they have the access code and it will expire after the semester. So yeah, that's one. Okay, here. And here is another fact sheet. Okay, fact sheet from this inclusiveaccess.org. So they talk about what is inclusive access and the pros and the cons. So here are some, challenges and the sales model work. And also what questions you should ask before adopting this. So I will not go through this in today's meeting, but please use this web link to check the information. We also, here's an academic article talking about the inclusive textbook. So we also find some other websites that we didn't put in here. There's some lawsuit news as well. So, but I think we shouldn't do that, to include too much. But you are welcome to dig into all the information about the pros and the cons. And here are some ideas that we generate from the bookstore committee. So here today is only the bare bones of the program, and I would expect you to go back to your colleagues in your own unit and bring the questions and the comments to the faculty senate meeting on November the 1st in a month. And also we can invite Barnes Noble representatives to join our faculty senate meeting on November for Q&A, because they have the complete information. And here what I present is what the bookstore committee knows. Actually, one of the representative, Jennifer Russell, she's from Barnes Noble. She already scheduled, she already vacant her day for October the 1st. So she's more than happy to be here to answer questions. So as I said, Joe Fortune is the person who coordinates the whole matter. If you have any questions, you can also contact him. And also, meanwhile, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to email me. I already received maybe 10 or 15 emails from faculty members all over the whole campus raising their questions and concerns. And also, I'm thinking to maybe distribute a survey, a very short survey, for you also to distribute to your faculty members about the pros and the cons, and also your opinion, whether you would support or oppose, or you're unsure about this program. So that's all I have information. Yes, thank you.
Before you run away, are there any immediate questions for the chair? Yeah. You don't get off so easy. Yeah, you can wait here. They'll bring the mic to them. We have folks online, so use your mic to respond.
Yes, okay. Nancy Buck and Darla Moore. I am just wondering, do you happen, hi.
I cannot see you. Okay.
Do you happen to know the cost, the typical cost to students now for their textbooks and materials? I mean, I'd like to judge the relative cost of this program versus what they currently have. And the second question is there any sort of consideration of that for some students this is prohibitive?
I understand that this could, in my personal feeling, this could benefit some students in some majors because their textbooks are more expensive, but some other students whose textbook are, they are not worth $60 per course. And some, I received some emails from faculty from mathematics, their textbook maybe is only $20. So in this case, I also raised this question to Barnes & Noble people, because basically my own textbook, it's about 140 some dollars, but the publisher also offered the online rental to students. It's $10.99 per month. So altogether it's $44 for rental, online rental for them. So I raised this question to Barnes & Nobles, and they said if you can calculate, the student can calculate how much money they can save, and then maybe they can opt out. They can opt out for that semester. So if they think the cost is good for them, then they can opt in. So, I mean, it's automatic opt-in. So the student need to put I would say the student need to put an alarm to say, I need to opt out.
I have a question.
If I need to.
Yeah, if you guys could please quiet down so everyone can hear.
Can I? Hi, I'm Catherine Barberry from Political Science. I would say that you should not even open negotiations without getting an opt-in rather than opt-out. There's considerable research in behavioral economics about individuals not opting out, not being informed and opting out, and how many students were basically saying you're charging every student for however many credit hours unless they take actions to opt out. I think there's something really unethical about that, allowing a private company to tax every student at our university unless they take action to opt out. So if Barnes & Noble is saying we will only give you the option of opting out versus opting in, I would shut down negotiations.
Yes, yeah, I talked with my faculty.
Where are you from? Political science.
Political science.
It's just so unethical.
Yeah, I mentioned this, raised this, excuse me, I raised this issue to my colleagues at my unit faculty meeting as well. And then our colleagues also raised this as an opt-in rather than opt-out. So we can the student can opt in rather than automatically opt in. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for your comments.
I think there's one in the back.
Okay.
There, yeah. Actually, a couple more.
Rhonda Sanders, mathematics. One of my concerns with this program is the question of whether or not the textbook access would include access to the online homework system, because I have students in my course who her sister took my class, so she has access to the textbook because her sister had the textbook. But because I chose to use the online homework system, there was no other choice for her than to pay the $111 for the online homework system access that comes with the ebook. The publishers have canceled the option to do homework only, presumably because too many students were opting for homework only and taking the cheaper option. So my concern with this program would be that you would be charging students for an ebook that if their professor then chose to use the online homework system, they would basically be paying double with no way around.
Hanot Soloy from the Department of Chemistry. I was curious if this also applies to graduate courses, because our graduate students take credit hours, let's say for, thesis preparation and other courses that do not require a textbook. But if you charge them flat out on credit hours, that's going to be quite expensive for them with really no benefit.
Yeah, thank you for your question. This is a good one. I don't have answers. I think the best way is to maybe have the Barnes & Noble representative here for the Q&A. For this, because all I know, I already shared here.
Sharpening their knife.
I'm going to take microphone carrier's privilege, Doug Thompson, also from Political Science.
And I would just also want to ask about the sequencing and the timing of this. So if the students have to pay their fees up front, will they even know already about what their book requests are going to be like from their classes? I mean, aren't they going to get their syllabi after they're going to have to pay?
Yeah, that's also a good question.
So I mean, this means that they can't opt out. So this is just a forced tax.
Yeah, I agree. The students, after the focus group, I also feel that the students need to do a lot of work to calculate at the beginning of each semester to see whether they should go for a la carte or they should, opt to take this program. So yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Weisenberg, University Libraries. I know there's a lot of unknowns here that have been listed out, and I am just concerned. One of those unknowns is that we don't know if this is going to go through the Provost Office or through the Faculty Senate. And if it does not go through the Faculty Senate, if it goes through the Provost Office, what kind of oversight will there be, and how will the Provost Office be answerable to the faculty and the students?
Again, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have an immediate answer for that. Yeah, I can definitely see that there are, curricula and pedagogical issues here. So I think the Senate has to be involved with this, is my opinion. But I think this steering committee did not really have a chance to fully discuss this today. I can put it, maybe we can have an ad hoc or meeting or something at the steering committee during the month. But yeah, we'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know, but I agree. It's from what I'm hearing, the Senate needs to be involved in some ways. Is my initial reaction.
Chair.
Oh, yeah, I'll agree.
We have a associate provost who'd like to speak.
Yeah, that's. I know she's heavily involved with this, so that would be fine. Yeah, I'll invite her to speak to the Senate.
Thank you. Laura Lamika Anderson, Office of the Provost. I just wanted to clarify a couple of questions. So if a student, for example, were to opt out and then go to the bookstore, this is my understanding from talking to Barnes & Noble, and they go to the bookstore and let's say their amount that the courses that they're taking comes to over $300, they could opt in immediately to the program and then get the benefit from the $300 charge. So they have until the drop and add period to look at this. So it is really, if we were to go to a program like this, it would be thinking about the best way to get the messaging out, because I think your point is, you speak to a great point, which is how do we, communicate that message effectively to opt out. I've talked to 3 other institutions around the country. UConn was one of them, Mississippi State was another one, and the third one was Coastal Carolina. They're all implementing the program. And of course, there are going to be some challenges. If we were to move in this direction, there would be some challenges with our first semester in doing this, because getting everyone used to the program and thinking about what we need to do in order to communicate the message effectively is something different. But I wanted to speak to. Could you go to your points? Let's see, the bullet points that were unclear. Okay, so the next page of bullets. Yes. Okay. So the timeline that I have been presented with in terms of what we're looking for would be for fall of 2024. So we have a little bit of time to think about this. So it's not immediate. And then from my understanding, I think that the decision would be made in conjunction with input from the faculty, staff, and students. And I think that the bookstore and Joe Fortune is in the process of conducting focus groups, which I think you participated in. I don't know if these are still ongoing or not, but these focus groups will help to inform, and then input from the faculty, which is why it's been brought up at the Faculty Senate today.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Yeah, that's why we would like to bring this to your attention for you to discuss. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Stephanie. Oh God, that's loud. Stephanie Ackerson from Biological Sciences. Can I ask you to go back one slide real quick? I just want to double check the wording on this. So this says, where is it? So it's a separate course charge, separate from billing to students beyond tuition and fees. I just want to be clear how that would be affected by any students on scholarship.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I didn't raise this question to the in the focus group. So, but that's a very good one. Yeah. Well, that influenced the scholarship. I need to write them down so that next time, in November, we could have all the questions raised.
It will be in the minutes also. This is all recorded. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
From history, a point that hasn't been raised is the level of service we currently experience from the bookstore. I will say that the strongest incentive I have felt to move to open educational resources is the bookstore itself. And courses where I do not have to depend on them inevitably run more smoothly. So that my course that I am teaching right now, which I got my books order in on time, so I don't know, a long time ago, the students do not have their books, even though several of them we have done and dealt with and the papers have been due, and we are still trying to get books for the students. So I see no reason to assume that their service would be any better if we gave them this kind of monopoly.
Hi, Chaz Evans, School of Visual Art and Design. I just wanted to mention that in the School of Visual Art and Design, there are many courses that do not have textbooks at all. And I imagine this will be the case with their units as well. And so the idea, and it's also very possible for a student to miss an email about opting out. So there'd be a very likely scenario, a lot of students be charged for absolutely nothing. And that is a deep concern of mine. And I just wanted to add that remark.
Yeah, I think the parents and the students should be fully informed of this if we adopt this program. But yeah, they need to be really put an alarm in their calendar to remind themselves.
Great. Would it be okay, in the interest of time, since we are going to have a full discussion on this in November again, maybe to hold any further comments for now? All right, go back to your units, get further input. Yeah, sorry about that. We do have a few other things to get through. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so going back to the agenda, for new business, I do have two notifications. Actually, one we can vote on, right? The standing rule change we can actually vote on too, yeah. So let's do the standing rule change first. That's a very simple one. I mentioned last time in September that we'd like to make a small change to our standing rules for the Senate, which is an appendix in the faculty manual, to basically add a sentence. It's in red here. This is the current passage we're changing about meeting scheduling, and here's the new language in red that would allow the steering committee to essentially make changes to the meeting schedule upon need. Okay, we cannot change the entire schedule to like a different day of the month or something, but if there was for example, which brought this on, our March meeting is scheduled in the middle of spring break. And right now the language requires a full action by the full Senate to reschedule a meeting. We'd like to modify it so that the steering committee could identify those problem dates and make a change, push it back a week or whatever is appropriate, without having to bring this to the full Senate and eat up time in the full Senate meeting to do this. Okay. Is there any, so this is I guess a motion from the steering committee, right? So this doesn't require a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right. Another item that, okay, we already did that, yes. So the other item I wanted to bring up, which is notification. We will not vote on this today, but this is notification. The provost, in consultation with the steering committee and several committees in the Senate, including, several standing committees of the faculty, including INDEV and IT, is creating let me scroll down to the actual charge here, is creating a teaching technology review task force. And the purpose of this, which the provost has mentioned previously, is to review LMS options to make a choice for a long-term LMS solution for USC, not only for the Columbia campus, but for the system, which includes the 3 comprehensive campuses as well. And this committee will formally sit in the provost's office. However, Faculty Senate will be essentially appointing members to this committee, and both the NDEV and IT chairs will be ex officio on this committee. And therefore, in November, we will need to approve those appointments to this committee so that the committee can start work this fall. I'm going to post, I'm not going to go through everything today. I'm going to post this document, which includes some background on why, which I think we're all familiar with, why an LMS is so important, and we need to probably try to choose one that fits all of our needs. The charge for this specific committee, and then probably more important for today, just to mention, this is the proposed composition for the committee. Well, really, it's not proposed. This is what the provost, in consultation with us, has put forward as the composition. So you can see there are representatives from the Columbia campus, from NDEV and IT committees, which are faculty committees of Columbia campus. There are representatives from the system campuses, and then there's ex officio members that including the NDEV and IT chairs. There are also IT and administrative members, because this is a heavily resource intensive decision with a lot of implications, budgetary and IT implications. So it's not just a faculty decision. And so this is the current composition of the committee. I will again put this on the Senate website, but currently these are the members. This is not yet completely populated, but these are the members there at the top that have been recommended by NDEV and IT to sit on this committee. That'd be the top 4 faculty members. And as I mentioned, both chairs of NDEV and IT, which are down here at the bottom, Mark and Nikos, will be the IT rep, will also be ex officio on the committee. So there'll be a heavy Senate involvement and faculty involvement in the committee from Columbia campus, in addition to faculty from the system campuses as well. All right, so we'll be putting forward, again, we're not debating the creation of the committee. We're debating, or we won't be debating, we'll be voting on the appointees that we want to send to this committee, this is the proposal, or the current nominees, I should say, for that, and we'll vote on them in November. Okay, again, this document will be on the Senate website, hopefully very soon, so you can look at it ahead of time. All right, and with that, I think that's it for the new business that I have. Is there any other new business for the Faculty Senate? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, the provost would like to make a comment. Yes, you're invited to address the Senate, please.
Thank you. I've sent messages out to the deans. We have this unfortunate calendar issue this year where Hanukkah and our final exams are completely overlapping. So instead of sending students to the student ombudsman, just please, accommodate for religious reasons, final exams to accommodate for the holiday. In another meeting, we had suggestions that we just end at Thanksgiving. I don't think that's exactly possible. So moved, yes, I hear that. But just to give everyone, show grace, it's really just an unfortunate happenstance of the calendar. So thank you for your grace.
Yes, you have an item?
I have a question regarding calendar.
Yeah, if you wait for the mic there, please.
Abu Sabakuli, the College of Nursing, I noticed our calendar get a shorter break for our students during fall and spring. Since this year, it used to be longer, especially for out-of-state student, and I am concerned that is going to be shorter for our student having that break. I was wondering what was the reason changing moving fall to almost the end of December and it started early in January. Was there any reason?
I have no knowledge of that. I don't know if anyone from the provost's office or anyone else can address that.
The President has asked us to look at the calendar. I'll let VP Versailles talk about what happened this year. You don't know?
Yeah. I think your question is, if I understand, that the fall break is shorter than the spring break.
No, the end of semester. We finish later than used to, and the
a student have shorter break from fall to spring.
I see. Okay. And that's how the 7-year calendar rolls. And so then once you get through a 7-year cycle, it then resets back. So is how that works. And to make it even more complicated, for the spring calendar, leap year affects that too. So and that's how it works. But as the provost said, the president has asked us to take a look at the fall calendar and to see what options we have there to address some issues in the fall. And so it's too early for me to comment on that, but I will say that the university registrar is looking into it very carefully, and we'll bring some information back to the provost and others to look at it.
Okay, any other new business? Anything for the good of the order? Yes. We have a need for a mic here in the front. All right, running, I like it.
Hey, thank you. Sorry to take up more of your time. Mark Minette, English. I just wanted to make an announcement. The first AUP meeting of the fall semester is going to be Wednesday, October 25th from 4 to 5. It will be virtual, and we'll distribute a Zoom link in a number of ways, including on our Facebook page, USC-Columbia AAUP Facebook page, which I encourage you all to consider joining. At the meeting, we'll be talking about resisting political interference in higher education, as well as a number of other issues, such as helping the newly formed budget committees get up and running and trained. So I encourage you all to consider attending. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Okay, anything else? No? Parliamentarian, do I need a motion to adjourn, or I can? No motion required. All right, I declare this meeting adjourned.